What's up, everybody? How are you guys doing? There's a lot of people here already. Hi, Christina, Vanessa, Bung, Tasha, iHeart, Agi R, Rachel, Lori, Bricks, Riaz, Justice, Test Cheer, Christina, Molly. Hello, everyone, and anybody else that I'm missing. Okay, so I want to talk about what's going to happen moving forward first and just everything that's been going on, why I got very overwhelmed, and all of that stuff. I don't want to let any of you guys down. Like, my subscribers mean a lot to me. All of you guys mean a lot to me. I appreciate the constant support that you guys give me. There's like so much more positivity than there is negativity on the channel, and I just wanted to tell you guys that I appreciate you all so much, and I don't want to let any of you guys down. I don't. I got very overwhelmed because I had bigger creators coming at me. I've been getting threats to from random people about trying to find out who I am, threatening me and my family. It just all got so overwhelming, and my anxiety just went through the roof, and I was just like, you know what? I'm done, because I'm not going to play this game. Because it's a game online. It's all a game. And but I've come this far, and I don't want to let anybody down. And if it gets to a point where things get dangerous or anything like that, I guess I'll just cross that bridge when I get there. I've kind of upped my security on everything with all my stuff, and it just got really overwhelming. And because everything was so overnight with me, I wish the growth was more gradual than overnight. Because I'm trying to figure out how to run the channel and how to make live streams really, simplified, and give you guys updates when I can, and that sort of thing. And it was just a lot of different opinions, and mixed in with really bad hate and everything else. And I just freaked out. And I'm not a person that quits. I'm a person that sees something through, and that's just what I need to do. And I just need to ignore the noise on the outside, and all that stuff. So that's all I'm going to say right now. I'll probably do another stream where I answer more questions and that sort of thing. I really want to clear up some things that were in this video, because I feel like a lot of my words are being twisted and that sort of thing. And I just really want to clear the air on some of the stuff that was said in this video. So we're going to do a live reaction to it and just kind of go through it point by point. I will explain my stance on certain things that were in the video, and how I probably could have handled things better when I edited the second part. And the second part's not up on my channel, so it's hard for anybody to reference it because it got taken down. And I am in the process of trying to re-edit it, and I'm putting some new information in part 2. There's going to be clips and stuff like that that were found after the fact that I'm trying to edit into part 2. I'm going to also try to reword some things that I said, because there was stuff that I said that I could have said better. So I'm going to kind of do that, but I'm still going to be transparent with you guys the way I said it before versus what I'm doing in the new video. You'll see it once it gets uploaded and all of that stuff. Yes, this video will be staying up, for anybody that's asking. There's a lot of comments coming in. I appreciate all the support you guys are giving me and everything a great deal. Let's see here. I don't know if I have, let's see here. Phoebes, do I have you as a mod? Let me put some mods. Priya's here. Let me, Priya, I'll make you a mod again. I think I removed like a bunch of the mods that were here before because I didn't know who was going to be official mods and everything else. But let me add some moderators really fast before we get started on Paige's video. And when we're done reacting to this, if I have time, I will read like more of your guys' comments and that sort of thing. Let's see here. Let me put some moderators in real fast. See here. All right. Okay. Priya, I added you. Let's see here. Sexy girl, do you mind being a mod? Phoebes is a mod. Let's see here. Sorry, guys. Let me just find stuff here. Let's see here. Yeah, I thought I was. There's some people saying I thought you were quitting YouTube. Yeah, I thought it was too. And you know what? I do want to say one other thing. There was a lot of creators that reached out to me, and I want to say thank you. You guys know who you are that reached out to me, asked me if I'm okay. I appreciate the support in the community a great deal. If I didn't respond or anything, I was just getting really overwhelmed. But I appreciate anybody that reached out to me, asked me if I was okay. Subscribers, all of you guys, the creators. Like I said, you know who you are and all that stuff. So I appreciate all the support a great deal. So let's see here. I think I only have 2 mods. Let's see here. Priya. Sorry, you guys. Busty Onion's a mod. Okay, I think I got 3. If you guys get overwhelmed, let me know. I'll add more people. Super chats are off. Just because I appreciate all you guys like dropping super chats and all that stuff, but I'm going to be like focusing on this video, and I know that I'm not going to be able to read every single super chat. So I turn the super chats off. I'm going to put out a massive trigger warning before we get started, because there's a lot of talk of SA in this video. So just massive trigger warning, because we're going to be getting into like a lot of different details and all that stuff. Part 2 of the Trisha series is not up on my channel. It got taken down due to privacy claims, and I'm in the process of re-editing it, and it will be re-uploaded. I hope it's going to be re-uploaded this week, if I can get the time to do it all, but I'm working on it. There's some new evidence that I'm putting in the video and all that good stuff. So let me get a drink of water really fast before we get started. Sorry. Whew. Okay. So does everybody think the chat's too fast or too slow? Say too fast or just right. Because some people don't like slow chat. Some people don't care. Everybody thinks it's too fast. Okay. I'm going to just put it on. Hang on a second. I'm going to put it on. Let me get to my videos here, because I didn't even put slow mode on. I didn't even think there'd be that many people watching, honestly. Hang on a second. I got to get to my dashboard here. Just give me just a second, you guys. Details, customization, slow mode. I'm going to do it every 30 seconds, and we will see how it goes. Okay. If it gets to be too fast, or if it gets to be too fast on 30 seconds, let me know. And Christina, thank you so much for becoming a member. And I missed you guys too. And just kind of before we get started, moving forward, I'm going to not stream as much. I'm probably going to do a stream once a week, regardless if there's a topic or not, just for members and just all the subscribers. So streaming, it's going to be like once a week on a Friday or a Saturday or a Sunday when I have more time to stream. And Yeah, and then we'll do a stream, like, addressing things that have come out about me or whatever, if you guys have any questions or anything like that. I just wanna focus on, like, the stuff with this video right now, because there's a lot of twisting and stuff that I could have said better, but it kinda got twisted into something that I really didn't mean, and I just kinda wanna explain things and all that stuff. So, let's get started. I'm gonna have this on 1.25 speed. If it freezes because my internet, like I said, I live out in the middle of nowhere, it's not the best. Let me know if it bothers you guys or anything like that. So, we're gonna get started. All right. And then if the mods need anything, let me know. Don't time anybody out. Try not to time anybody out unless somebody's like really out of line, like cussing, really out of line. Everybody can have their own opinions. I don't want anybody silenced. So, okay, let's do this. That is so loud.
Okay, so I'm aware that this has been a somewhat anticipated video for me to make in regards to Trisha Paytas. So I want to preface this video by giving a bunch of disclaimers that I know that people are going to actively choose to ignore. Number one, this is not a hit piece. Many people online and across the internet have been saying that this was a way for me to discredit Mysterious's work, and it's not. It's just an alternative perspective. Number two, there is no Mysterious versus Petty Paige beef, and for the love of God, stop trying to make one. Two content creators can have different opinions and perspectives without it being a versus battle or some kind of beef in any capacity. Number three, there is no Mysterious vendetta. I've seen this as well across social media prior to me actually making my video, that I have like some kind of vendetta against Mysterious. I don't have any Mysterious vendettas purely because I don't know Mysterious. I've never spoken to them. We've never had any extended conversation. I don't even believe we've interacted on social media. And
That's not true. I mean, we did have an interaction on social media and she blocked me, but it's whatever. I just gave her some criticism. She was arguing with the mother of Bianca Devins, and I said something about it, and she like retweeted me, and I said something back to her, and we had like a few exchanges, and then she ended up blocking me. But I mean, it is what it is. I mean, she was very supportive of the first video, which is why it's kind of shocking that I get it if you have a different opinion, but I feel like this video was more directed at me than Trisha and like proving Trisha's claims. But I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, she had me blocked on social media, and it's fine. It's all good, but it's not true.
in order for a vendetta to exist, there would have to be history, and we simply don't have any history together. Number four, Trisha Paytas is not my friend. I can honestly count on like one hand the amount of times that me and Trisha have actually ever spoken a conversation or a piece of dialogue that's lasted more than one sentence. And furthermore, I have a catalogue of videos on my channel to do with Trisha Paytas. She is not my most favorite person, and I have dragged her consistently. So having a different opinion that maybe might be a little bit more supportive of Trisha Paytas and the things it is they've said in this instant doesn't make me a stan. I'm 30 years old. I've got 2 kids. I haven't got time to be stanning a 33-year-old from America. Let's just call it what it is.
I mean, and I agree with that. Like, I feel like there's just such a thing online with, if you agree with somebody or you're defending somebody or something like that, people automatically put you into the category of being like the stan or whatever. And, you know, that's kind of came out about me over the past week or so with Shane and everything else, which I'm not a Shane Dawson stan. Like, I barely even watch his content anymore. I don't even remember the last video that I watched of his. So it's just, I wish social media would just stop like kind of putting people in categories, like if you defend somebody or whatever. But the thing about it is like these channels, the hypocrisy, and I know I come off hypocritical, and I'll be the first to admit that, like, we are all hypocritical. There's no way for people not to be hypocritical. And I know I'm biased in certain situations, and I know I probably defended some people too much in certain situations too. but these channels have done the exact same thing. They were all defending Trisha Paytas. They were all putting her on a pedestal when because of a podcast. And that's something that just blew my mind, because I was finding all this stuff out, and all these people have been online a lot longer than me. And I didn't know about Trisha's history until I started looking into the Hair by Jay situation. But all these channels were putting, like, propping her up on a pedestal, all because of a podcast. So it's just really hypocritical to me, you know?
Literally past the point of having that totalitarian way of thinking where it is either black or white. There are various shades of gray. And that's what I'm here to discuss in today's video, the spaces in between the truth and the lies. It really sucks that we live on an internet that is full of so much animosity that I even have to make a video disclaimer like this to prove my intentions behind why I'm making a video like this. But I have to when there are people and groups and blogs, etc., saying things like this, discrediting my work even before it's done, even before I've pressed record, even before I've said hello. And I don't know, stuff like that makes me think it's giving me very much scared. And we're talking about SA and SA allegations. Further information shouldn't make you scared in any capacity, and any more information coming out that could be a defense to SA survivors or victims should not make anybody uncomfortable, unless there's an ulterior motive. So let's go to chapter 1.
Okay, so this chapter is about the copyright claim, and this is how Paige started coming at me with the second part. I didn't even know she reacted to the part 2 until I watched this video, because I guess she reacted to part 2 on Twitch. But like, that was the first thing that I kept hearing about Paige, was the whole copyright claim thing, which sucks. That's one reason why it sucks that my video is not up right now, because like, when I talked about the copyright claim in my video, I specifically told everybody that it was my opinion that it wasn't random. And I showed you guys the clips that were claimed and how the clips were claimed. And I expressed my opinion that it was just really weird on how the clips were picked and how it would pretty much discredit the bulk of my video if those clips were cut out of the video. At no point did I ever say it was definitely like this, and that's definitely how it works. It was my opinion that it wasn't random. And if it's not random, then it's a pretty big fucking coincidence.
So, chapter 1, how it started and how it was framed. So, Trisha Paytas has been at the center of controversy, as we all know, here on social media, after a video by a content creator called Mysterious went semi-viral or viral within the communities that actually care about this kind of stuff. With a deep dive video into Trisha Paytas, who they are, how they grew up, their middle school, their family dynamic, and why they have ended up the habitual liar we know today. As a top video posted in my Discord server, my audience requested that we watch this video together. And we watched episode 1, and when I tell you, episode 1 was insanely good. I personally love a depth of research, and it was clear to me the time and effort that was undertaken by Mysterious to do stuff like reading Trisha Paytas' book, videos that Trisha had made to cross-reference. And
now, do you guys understand why I made the first episode? I made the first episode because Trisha, over the time span of frenemies, changed her whole childhood to revolve around these allegations that were put online during frenemies. I read the book and I was blown away by how different the book was from what she was saying online. And which is why I like heavily stress to everyone, please watch episode 1 and then watch part 2. Please look at both videos as the full picture. Look at every single angle that I pointed out in this series and don't focus on one thing, because I came to my conclusions based on all the evidence that I put into both videos with you guys. Because if I couldn't cover the angles that I covered, I probably would have never posted them. And which is why episode 1 was so important to watch and look at how much she changed her childhood and her story and everything else, because it all goes together. Everything goes together. And I don't hone in on one little thing. I hone in on the full picture. So
honestly, I feel that level of dedication to a story.
That's such a good video. Like, that was actually really, really good. If you guys are interested in watching this video again and going over some of the receipts, or even just going through and supporting this content creator that made this video, that deserve all of the views, it definitely took them a long time to put. I mean, I can appreciate hard work when I see it. Their name is Mysterious. They have 9.94k subscribers. They definitely deserve so much more. So go and subscribe, put the post notifications on so that you guys get updated about episode 2, as well as leaving a little comment for the algorithm. I would greatly appreciate that.
That was until episode number 2. Now, video number 2 for me was filled with...
And there are multiple live streams where I thanked Paige for reacting to that video. I was very surprised that she even gave me the support that she did on the video and that she reacted to it. I appreciated everyone that, and I still do. Her, Dustin, everybody that propped that video up. Papa Gut reacted to it. I felt like that got it out there even more to more viewers and everything else. I appreciate anyone that did that. And I have said that multiple times, and I just want to make sure that everybody knows that. Like, I'm very, very appreciative of what these creators have done in, like, you know, giving me credit for the series, you know?
So much presumptuous takes, personal bias, privileged ideologies, and just a total lack of understanding for victims of SA and what it is that they experience, how they function, and trauma responses. From the assumption that Mr. Riney was a great...
Now, I will say, okay, this is where I kind of failed in that video, because I was focusing more on Trisha versus SA victims as a whole. I know everybody, and that's what kind of why I've said this in multiple live streams outside of the video, because I was just trying to move through each and every piece and just show you guys how Trisha's story didn't fit together. None of it lines up together. None of the dots get connected in anything that she has said. It's just, there's so much that is not right about the situation. And that's what I was honed in on. And I should have, I wish if I could go back in time and do it differently, I would have definitely have put like a disclaimer on, you know, at the beginning of the video saying, I know that everybody handles trauma differently. I know that there are various different situations where maybe this has happened to somebody, but like I said, I was more focused on just Trisha versus SA victims as a whole. And that's where I failed in that video. And I'll admit that. It's just every single angle of Trisha's story, none of it connects to each other with what she has said. And I shouldn't have focused on that so much. And I should have been more aware of how it could have affected, you know, other SA victims with what I was saying. Because I do believe everybody has different experiences. I do believe that everybody handles trauma differently. And when I'm like comparing what I think is real with Trisha versus what is just questionable with Trisha, she handles the situations completely differently. And it's everything. It's, you know, it wasn't just because the safe town, but like her upbringing was pretty normal. You know, her parents were divorced and, you know, her dad lived out in California. You know, she lived with her mom most of the time. It wasn't like she was in an I don't know how to put this, because like I feel like her home life was what put her in the unsafe environment, but like the town as a whole, I feel like the schools were where she wanted to be later on because she didn't want to be at home. It's hard to explain the whole thing, you know, but I wish I would have said it differently in the video versus just focusing on Trisha.
Great guy because he was a war vet. He received loads of different accolades and was hailed by the community as a fantastic teacher.
I'll let this play and then
stopped teaching because he retired. This man is also a Vietnam War vet that was honored with a Bronze Star, which is a high, high honor. If you don't know what a Bronze Star symbolizes in the Army, here is a short summary of what it means. It is the 4th highest ranking award a service member can receive for a heroic deed performed in an armed conflict.
There's two reasons why I did the definition of the Bronze Star medal. One, the meaning of it is that he sacrifices himself for serving his country. So it's more like a selfless, it's a medal for their bravery. And the second reason why I explained this is because he had so much awards and people respected him in the community. And the reason why this was so important is because if he would have been caught at any point, or there would have been rumors anywhere at any point, there would have been stories all over the internet about this. And that's why I gave the definition of this. He would have been stripped of his military titles. And I didn't really go into much detail about it. I just gave the definition and I moved on to the awards. And after that, I said there was no way he was doing this. He would have been caught. And a man like Mr. R would have shocked this town and it would have been everywhere. But she cut that last part off, and I'll go ahead and play it so you guys can see it.
For those who receive a Bronze Star medal, it is a signal of their sacrifice, bravery, and honor while serving their country. The other thing I want you guys to focus on is the awards that this man has gotten as a teacher and a coach. His obituary reads as, some of Mr. Riney's awards and recognition include 7 varsity letters in basketball and track with Loraz College, 5 times being included in the Who's Who of American Teachers, twice being honored by the Western Illinois University as a highly motivational teacher, and placement in Newman's Athletic Hall of Fame. This man was so well respected by so many people. So for Trisha to make such horrible accusations at such a well-respected man in the Byron.
And the horrible accusations, one being the huge lie that she told to millions of people. She told everybody that this guy got arrested for CP and told her millions of followers to go look up an arrest that does not exist. And anybody that just hung on to her word is thinking this guy got arrested for CP. So
Illinois area, it just makes me so sick to my stomach. There is no way this man was doing what she claimed. He would have been caught.
To take the Trisha Paytas.
And she cut that off right there. I said, there's no way this man was doing what she claimed. He would have been caught. And a man like Mr. R would have shocked the town. There would have been stories everywhere. I said something like that after that. And the way Trisha, and that's why it's so important to watch the whole video, because everything taken out of context, it sounds bad the way she kind of clipped it up. But before I talked about this, I showed all of the clips that contradicted each other. And the way that Trisha explained these allegations, it sounded like this teacher was really reckless. It seemed like multiple students had seen what was going on. It seemed like she even at one point said that he admitted it to the principal. It's just really, it's the way she framed it is like, how was he never caught? Because he sounded like he was so reckless with this. And there's not one story online about it. So when you clip everything up, it sounds really bad. But when you watch the video as a whole and see all the contradictions and see the big lie that surrounded this whole thing, that was the point I was trying to drive across with it. You know what I mean?
Resided in a low crime rate area. Therefore, the chances of them being essayed once was slim enough, let alone 3 times.
For the cities in the USA, which means it's a pretty safe town. In Byron, you have a 1 in 1,196 chance of becoming a victim of a violent crime. So statistically, I can see something like this happening one time to someone in a town like Byron, but 3 separate times by 3 different teachers to the same victim, it just seems impossible.
Okay, so the reason, and it sucks having to look at statistics and everything else, but I covered every aspect of this story, so I left nothing, I left no stone unturned. If this happened in an area like Chicago, like Paige brings up later on in this video, I would have had a completely different perspective on it because it's a very high crime area. But I'm looking at this as the whole picture and everything else, because when you're in small towns, the likelihood of 3 teachers having these tendencies. Well, with Trisha, I think there's 5 stories. There's 5 separate stories with this. And it's not all of it gets reported. That's true. But if this many teachers were doing this sort of thing to students, there would have been something online about it. And there's nothing online about it. So it, in her, like her home life, it didn't seem like it just didn't seem like, I don't know how to explain it. I put the statistics in there because I felt they were an important part of the story. And if she grew up in a town that had more of a high crime rate, that was really, really dangerous and everything else, I would have never have talked about it like the way I did. And I should have backed it up with, I understand that this probably has happened to somebody in the world, but this is just another piece of the puzzle that didn't make sense to me with what Trisha was saying. So yeah, it's taken out of context, and I probably should have explained it more, and I probably should have looked at what other people go through with it. And I was just so honed in on what Trisha was telling everyone. That's where I failed in the video. So, but I'm not trying to say it's impossible for all victims to never go through this in a small town. But just from what I seen with Trisha, it just, what she was saying and how reckless these teachers were, it just seemed like, I don't see how it's possible that none of these people ever got caught. Your parents didn't know. I mean, there's just so much that I already explained in the video up to this point on why I just think it seemed impossible to me. But yeah, I'm sure there's people in small towns that have been essayed by 3 different people. And everybody's different. I understand that. And I do understand how everybody handles trauma differently. And I understand I'm a domestic abuse victim. And I know how I handled my trauma and everything else. And I know everybody's different. I get all that. And I completely understand that. I was just focused on Trisha and Trisha alone.
To me.
To the other point of Trisha Paytas getting their information wrong about their teacher, Mr. Riney, who they alleged had been found with CP on his computer. So because that information was wrong, we should totally disregard the fact that Trisha Paytas even named this person as their alleged personal essay abuser.
They have lied about so much, you guys, and I could list everything, and we could be here all day. At cost, are we going to keep believing everything that comes out of her mouth? A teacher that can't defend himself, a teacher that was well loved, a teacher that was never arrested, that had a perfect reputation in the community. What about the victims of Trisha Paytas? When are we going to start taking them more seriously?
Why don't we talk about the victims of Trisha Paytas? Why don't we talk about the victims of Trisha Paytas? There are plenty of victims of Trisha Paytas.
And I was talking about a victim of Trisha Paytas. What about this guy's family? What about the teacher? I mean, he's not even a public figure, and she blasted a lie to all of her millions of followers. That's what I was talking about. What about the victims of Trisha Paytas? And I named everything about him versus everything about Trisha, because going up to this point in the series, none of the story lines up with each other. None of it does at all. And that's the point I was trying to drive across with this. And in my upcoming episodes, I was going to talk more in detail about other victims of Trisha Paytas. Jason, Daniel E. Carroll. I mean, I had so much stuff lined up for the next episodes that I was going to focus on each thing. I just felt like this was the most important because the family had to deal with the repercussions of this, and it was built on a lie. And looking at all the evidence as a whole, none of it makes sense with each other. So
there are loads of people who have been lied on by Trisha Paytas. Why are we taking this shit? If there was anywhere that you shouldn't have touched, it was this. There are plenty of victims of Trisha Paytas. This is social DID. That is one person that everybody has been crying out for justice for. We could have had a whole last video talking about, when she said that a personality switch, maybe even compare that with the whole situation between herself and Dr. Drew, all that kind of stuff. There was plenty of different ways we could have gone with this. But denying the voice of a victim, whether you believe them or not, is not it, ever.
So at this.
And I completely understand that just because he was a good guy, I just want to make this perfectly clear because this whole thing has been blown out of proportion. I understand that good people do things all the time. Good people do horrible things all the time, and it's shocking to people. It was just another part to the story, which is why I focused on so many different angles of this, which is why I wish people would stop honing in on one specific thing and look at everything in the two videos, because that's where I drew all my conclusions from, that none of it made sense with each other at all. Every angle that I looked at, it didn't add up with each other.
Start of episode 2, Mysterious starts talking about their copyright strike. And when watching this video live, I was a little bit confused how something so easily identifiable and Googleable had slipped under the radar, considering the level of research it is that I'd come to expect from Mysterious. So let's talk about it, the significance of the copyright claim. So Mysterious stated that they had received a copyright claim and that Trisha Paytas had made a claim against their video, citing various timestamps of Trisha's own content where they contradict themselves. The problem I had with this is that Mysterious hadn't actually in fact received a normal copyright claim, and what they had received was a content ID claim, as shown in the receipts it is that they posted in their video. An ID claim was done by a company that we've all come to learn to loathe here on the internet called Superbam. Now, if you are a content creator or a commentator who uses other people's clips without consent that falls under the Fair Use and Fair Dealings Act, then you will know this company and you will know that they frequently abuse the copyright system and claim literally anything that they can monetize. But I digress. If you know anything about Content ID, you will know that it is a piece of software that helps its users identify when their content is being used on a video without their consent. It auto flags any videos with the user's content and automatically claims it.
Content ID, on the other hand, is an automated copyright management.
Content ID is completely different than a manual claim. Completely different than a manual claim. I don't even know why she's talking about Content ID here, because Content ID is a completely different claim than manual. And it even says that in YouTube's guidelines. And I'll actually pull that up here in just a second.
System. For copyright owners, Content ID automatically finds videos that use their material and lets them claim it instead of submitting a copyright takedown. So even though Content ID has a lot to do with copyright, a Content ID claim is not the same as a copyright takedown notice.
However, after I posted online that what Mysterious had actually got was a Content ID claim and not your conventional copyright strike, and the fact that it was Superbam who were behind this Content ID claim and not Trisha Paytas themselves, Mysterious then went on to clarify via Twitter that what they had got is a manual Content ID claim. So manual Content ID is basically the same as Content ID, but with some extra steps. So in the Content ID...
Okay, let me read this really fast. Content ID route claims for manual review. Features described in this article only apply to users of the YouTube Studio Content Manager for info on general YouTube policies. Content ID automatically claims user uploaded videos without human intervention, but you can select an option to require a manual review before the claim becomes active. See, what I looked up online, because after I watched this, after I looked this up, and what I found says something completely different than what she put in the video. And I'll try to find that here in just a second. But it said a manual claim is completely different than a Content ID claim. I'm going to let it play. I'm going to find what I pulled up before.
management system, you can select terms that the software will apply. So for instance, a company can state that any video that uses more than 30% of one of their users' original content, it will flag that up, but it will also need manual assistance in order to find the timestamps. And you got to remember, this is Content ID. It already maps out for you what video it.
Okay, manual review claims when Content ID identifies a match policy is applied to the claimed video. If the match policy has the route for review option selected, then the video is considered a potential claim. It means that the claim is placed, but it still stays inactive until it's manually reviewed. Potential claims appear in your content manager on the issues page when you filter by potential claims. You can also view the potential claims that were routed, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so this is what I pulled up, you guys. I don't even know why this is being focused on so much. I'm just going to share this with you guys real quick. And at no point in my video did I like ever say this is definitely how it was or anything like that. That's why I'm so confused by this. I put my opinion on there and that was it. And I made it crystal clear that it was my opinion. Let me pull this up here. Dang it. It's been a while. How do I do this? Share screen, window. Where is it at? Why isn't that showing up? Damn it. Hang on. Because in my video, what I said was I don't think it was random, because I don't think it was random. It just seemed it's a very big coincidence. And one thing I do want to say too is that I didn't get this claim on the video until a week after my video was uploaded. And Trisha was talking like very, very vague in reference to my video in multiple videos before I got the actual claim. So, and Paige also says this is like 40% of my video. This is not 40% of my video. I did not talk about the copyright claim 40% of my video. It was probably like 5%, maybe 10, if that. This is why I just think this part of the video is ridiculous. And Trisha recently admitted that she put privacy claims on a video, which was mine, and all of the photos and everything else that I pulled for my video, that my video got taken down, was off of her social media. I did not dox anybody or anything else. I read what was out of a book that is in a published book, and I pulled clips from her public YouTube channel and her public Twitter and Instagram. Nothing more. So it's just, I don't really understand the whole thing about this copyright at all, why it's being focused on so much. And I've gotten 13 claims since this whole thing started. And I'm sorry, it's just, that's a really big coincidence if this is all automatic, that I'm getting 13 claims, 13 separate claims on a matter of, let's see here, there was 4 separate videos that I got and 13 claims on 4 videos. So this is what it says, what a manual claim is. A manual claim is sent to you when a copyright owner identifies their content has been used without their permission. Copyright owners use the manual claiming tool to claim your video, which sends you a manual claim. And then it also says, note, a manual claim is different from an automated content ID claim. A content ID claim is generated when an uploaded video matches another video or part of another video in our content ID system. So it literally says right here, it's completely different. And then it goes on to say the manual claiming tool is used by copyright owners who demonstrate advanced knowledge of our content ID system. The tool gives copyright owners a way to manually claim videos not matched by the content ID system. So basically, what I get from this, let me read the next sentence real fast. Manual claims must include accurate timestamps to show exactly where the claimed content is in your video. So basically, somebody is taking the specific timestamp of a specific video and they're putting it into YouTube's system to claim those timestamps. So this isn't automatic. It was something that was pulled, and whether Trisha gave the specific timestamp to the company or however it played out, they had to manually go in there and claim the clips that they claimed. This company just helps Trisha with this. And it sounds like she's been talking to these people because she's acting like she has no association with Superbam, which is funny because that video was uploaded right after Paige's video, and Paige focused on this so much to try to discredit me, and it's just weird to me. It's just weird. So a manual claim is completely different from the content ID claims, and I can't prove it without a shadow of a doubt that Trisha went into my video to pick out those timestamps. And I never said that in my video that Trisha definitely did this. I just said it was a pretty big coincidence if it was all random, because it definitely would have taken away from the bulk of the video, the points that I was trying to make. And that's how I passed it off in the video. So hopefully we can stop talking about these claims, because it's just stupid at this point. It really is. And like I said before, I focused on it probably 5, maybe 10% at most of my video. All right, let's get back to this.
Is that it's been taken from. So there really isn't much hunting for the administration to do. That means that Superbam would have to provide timestamps for the content used. However, as far as Superbam are concerned, if you use their client's work,
and she just said it right there, Superbam had to give the timestamps. So, and it was a week after I uploaded it. So it's speculation, yeah. But I'm sorry, it's quite obvious to me. It's very obvious to me that it was done on purpose. But I don't know. That's just some coincidence if it randomly picked the clips that would discredit a lot of the video.
In any capacity, that's their money. So either way, I kind of still felt as if it was unfair to attribute these copyright claims that Mysterious had been receiving to Trisha Paytas in the background, menacingly rubbing their hands to take down a small creator, when we all know how Superbam works.
And she admitted to the privacy claims. So she knows about the videos. She's been hinting at the videos. And why all of a sudden are all these creators getting all these claims all of a sudden? Before that point, it was very random, the creators that were getting claimed by this company. But now there's so many creators getting claims by this company. Trisha hires this company to claim these videos for her.
I've had Superbam do exactly the same to me with several Trisha Paytas videos, boop and boop. And I even have a dispute where Superbam felt that their claim was still valid. And I had to fight that in the YouTube copyright system, but I still won the dispute. Superbam also copyright claimed my Tana Moja content as well, because she is also with Superbam. And they have worked exactly the same way with Tana Moja as they have done with Trisha Paytas, regardless of who the individual is that's claiming. Superbam are just the worst. So essentially they're working exactly the same way, regardless of the creator. So why is this important? Because basically that set the scene for a natural, visceral reaction from the audience that Mysterious was somebody who was trying to be silenced by Trisha Paytas, when the reality of the situation is that Trisha Paytas works with an awful management company.
But she admitted to the privacy claims that took down my video. I'm sorry. I mean, I feel like I'm being silenced by her. I really do, because like I've gotten so many claims and a takedown of a video for using public information. I mean, you guys can draw your own conclusions about it, but damn, you know?
That will literally copyright claim the breaths in between sentences if they feel as if somebody is taking their money. So after a good 40% of Mysterious's part 2 video
and like right here, she said it's 40% of my video. It's not 40% of my video at all. I probably talked about it for 5 minutes, if that, in the video. So I don't know why she said it was 40% of my video. You guys would have got bored and bowed out if I talked about this copyright claim for 40% of my video.
About the claim and what had been claimed. The second part of the video was the smoking gun. Towards the end of the video, Mysterious talks about Trisha Paytas and Mr. Riney. Okay, so just to bring you guys back a few steps, let's go to the beginning of the Trisha Paytas and Mr. Riney drama. On episode 17 and 23 of Frenemies, Trisha Paytas talks about a teacher that allegedly them. They also made numerous TikToks talking about the alleged that are still up on their TikTok to this day.
I've always been vocal on social media because I was silenced, not to give like a silly reference in this, but I was silenced for so long at my school growing up. I had 3 different incidences with 3 different teachers in regards to SA, R word, and M word. Ramification, but starts with an M. It happened in the school, and one principal didn't believe me. 2, I was too scared to speak up, and 3, the teacher said I was like asking for it.
Okay, and this right here, this is something I should have mentioned in my video. It's funny because once you watch all the other clips that she talked about this story, one, I was too scared to speak up, okay, let me backtrack that a little bit. When she talks about this story, she has said that the students reported it. She has said that the principal blamed her. And she has also said that the teacher said that she was asking for it. And then she has also said that she was silenced on it. In this TikTok, she says all 3 things in relation to this story, which is another reason why none of the stories line up with each other at all. Every time she talks about the story, it's always different. And I mean, she's went as far as saying that they were taking naked photos in the classroom, and like there was so much happening during the Heads Up 7-Up game, and there's students heads up during that game. I just don't, the way she describes it, it's just, I don't understand how all this was going on and nobody's seen a thing. You know what I mean?
So it was like looked over. The one that I was too scared to speak up on, someone else spoke up years later and he ended up getting arrested. Byron, Illinois, look it up. His name is looking up CP at school. And I finally have a voice for myself and hopefully others. I can never share your story, but I'll always be in support of the victims. I will always stand behind them, and I won't stay silent anymore.
Now,
I don't think people really realize the gravity of what she did with this lie. I mean, this is a pretty disgusting thing to accuse somebody of that isn't true. This isn't just an oopsie. Oh, I didn't do my research. It's a massive lie that a lot of people believed. Accusing someone of being arrested for CP when it's not true, and name dropping that person publicly on a platform to millions of people, and the person is deceased and can't defend themselves, and the family is having to deal with the backlash of it. It's just, it's a mistake that is unbelievable, honestly.
in the TikTok video, Trisha Paytas basically states that Mr. Riney was arrested for having CP on his computer and then tells their audience to look it up. So some people did just that and found a completely separate incident in a completely separate state in a completely separate school. And when you do find Mr. Riney, you find his online obituary as the man has sadly passed away. The perception by the audience is that Trisha had actively lied on a dead teacher and then went ahead and told their audience to look up that lie. However, as I watched the video, I couldn't help but wonder, why would Trisha Paytas tell a lie to their audience and direct them to this lie, which would actively discredit what it is that they're trying to say? At the time of posting this, Trisha Paytas has 6.4 million followers on TikTok. So when broadcasting to such a large audience, why would they tell such a transparent lie and at least not expect at least a couple hundred people to check and verify that information?
And for as calculated as Trisha Paytas is portrayed to be on social media, this would be an extremely stupid mistake.
That to me honestly just leads me to believe that Trisha Paytas probably searched his name, saw the article, felt super duper vindicated and strong enough to share their own personal story about this individual and the experiences they had. However, the information they broadcasted was wrong. But according to Trisha Paytas' classmates, something may have happened, but it just wasn't that.
Overlooking something like this is so reckless on so many levels. I mean, she literally doxed him spread this massive lie and everything else about the town, about the teacher, and the family had to deal with all this. This isn't something that should just be glossed over. You know, the contradictions in the stories are a massive piece to this whole puzzle, but this whole thing was built on a lie, a massive lie. And it's just like, I just don't understand how it can be glossed over like this. Like, it's not just an oopsie mistake that she just, you know, thought it was some other article or whatever else. She has thought about this, about the teacher. She talked about in a podcast episode and everything else. This was a rumor apparently at their school, which she in that podcast episode said the teacher did nothing to her. Another contradiction of the story that we have gone over. And he has a clean record. There's nothing. There is nothing but a divorce and a bankruptcy. That's it. There's nothing on his teaching license. There's nothing in his criminal history. There is nothing.
So fast forward to after episode 2 of Mysterious Video, Ethan Klein must have been informed about the situation or heard about the video or even watched the video in regards to Trisha Paytas and the passed away Mr. Riney, and decided to post a public statement basically saying he took down episode 17 of the Frenemies podcast until Trisha further clarifies themselves. Now this is when we see an ex-classmate of Trisha Paytas from Byron Middle School come forward and share their experience and basically states that the same happened to them. Now before I get into this section of the video, I have to just give you guys another disclaimer. The disclaimer is that I can't give people's personal details. That would be doxing. So whilst I can show you what I can, which I believe is enough to be able to validify that this person is a real individual, what I can't do is then go out and spread their personal information on the internet, as they aren't public figures, nor do they deserve that kind of attention. So with that being said, let's go ahead. Now this classmate is called Morgan M. They can be seen in Mysterious's video showing Trisha among their classmates in the school yearbook. They state that Mr. Riney was handsy with them too. And
let's read this tweet. It's fucking true. She could have like at least blurred the picture. It's fucking true. I went to school with her. He wasn't arrested for CP, but he was fired for watching P at school. And yes, he used to grab us while we played Heads Up 7-Up. So she's saying like right here, she's saying the whole thing is true. And I talked to Morgan, and Morgan said that she never heard anything about Trisha and any teachers. I mean, you can believe me or not with that, but she specifically told me that in DMs.
Would rub their shoulders to them as well as many other girls. They also state that he wasn't arrested for CP, but rather he may have been dismissed for having adult content.
I'm not saying he was convicted for CP. I'm just saying he was very handsy with girls and was fired for watching P, the message from my dad. And her dad vaguely remembered it. I mean, I broke all this down in another video, why I was questioning so much with this, because a lot of it didn't add up with each other at all.
And on a school computer on school premises. They went on to state that their father was the police chief.
A couple years, not multiple. I can get a hold of the principal who worked then. This is one thing that she changed. He became chief in 2000, the year I was in 7th grade, and had him as a teacher. Mr. R was fired years later. Years later. That was another thing that didn't make sense. He was fired years later, and he left. He only taught their 6th and 7th grade year.
Chief of Byron, and doxed his name and their full name in order to prove that they are who they.
I just want to see if she has the tweets in here where she like changed with her father. Clearly, it hasn't been public knowledge. Not sure if I knew because of my dad or what, but he remembers as well. Her dad said vaguely. Vaguely is like you barely remember it. And the other weird thing that I thought is she kept spelling his name wrong. Who remembers Mr. R being fired for P on his computer while the kids were in class? And then she says, I have absolutely no reason to lie about this. It's the truth. You can Google who was the chief of police in Byron. His name is blah, blah, blah. Talks about being his daughter. He remembers as well. I posted her screenshots text because it's Byron. You wouldn't understand if you didn't live there. He was a well-to-do white man, and it was pushed under the rug.
Say they are. They even went as far as to contact their dad, who states that he vaguely remembers a situation like this, but he doesn't believe that any files were charged against him. Now, when you search Morgan's name, you are able to find their father and his name, and that they both reside in Byron. You can also clarify that he is, in fact, the police chief of Byron. Morgan then went on to message friends in a group chat who also remember something similar happening with Mr. Riney.
Hold on, let me read these. Do you guys remember Mr. R being fired? Yes, I remember. I think it was Paul. Yes, I remember. He was Blake. Oops, thanks, guys.
That he may have opened adult content at the school, and one person even named a student who was the person who reported this. There was also a girl in the chat called Rachel Redacted, who can also be found in that same middle school picture that Mysterious had posted in their original part 2 video. However, when Morgan came out and basically corroborated Trisha's claims that this teacher may have been a bit off, a lot of people then decided to come out to try and invalidate Morgan's story, saying a bunch of different things that honestly make no sense. So let's dissect them. They stated that Morgan's name doesn't bring up their father. They stated that the Morgan account was a bot who conveniently came out to defend Trisha. They stated that Morgan was also dead. They stated that Morgan changed their story multiple times before feeling the heat and leaving the internet.
Okay, so this is what Morgan did. I've gone through this in previous previous live streams. But what she did, and I was watching all this go down, and there's screenshots too, but what she did, there was hardly any traction on the tweet whatsoever. People were asking her about specifics of it. She changed it from years to 2 years. She changed the grade. Somebody said something like, if your dad was police chief during that time, then somebody needs to look into him, because if he ignored a teacher getting handsy with girls, and he should have been, investigated himself or whatever for not doing anything about it. And then she changed it from he was police chief in 2000 to he wasn't police chief in 2000. And then she disappeared. And then she came back to put a thing on her Twitter, and then she deleted it again, which when she came back to put the thing on their Twitter, I talked to her a little bit in DMs, and I'm not going to show DMs or anything like that, but there were changes in the DMs too. So it's just, I don't really know what to say about it, because she said it was nothing life-changing, but he touched my shoulders, which is completely different than what Trisha was claiming, because Trisha's claiming he was grabbing her chest. He was actually going down her pants and everything else. The guy was taking pictures in the classroom. There is so much that Trisha has claimed with this. So it's just, I don't know. And Trisha has also said that somebody came forward years later about this teacher as well, but the teacher wasn't teaching at the school years later. And who is this other person? You know what I mean? There's just so many holes in it to go with, okay. And there's no record of him ever being fired either. And she does show the other Facebook posts, because a majority of the people remember the incident of him accidentally opening an email. There's a lot of people that said that too. So it's just it's all rumors and speculation. And I go off of proof, actual facts. I mean, if there was something on his teaching record, or if he got arrested for something, it'd be a completely different story. You know what I mean? I don't know.
They also state that Morgan was hacked. So let's look at the first one, when they stated that Morgan's name doesn't bring up their father's name. Now, there are plenty of websites that bring up Morgan's father as the chief of police, and you can also find that a girl named Morgan is listed as his daughter. So I honestly have no idea where that lie came from, because it's something that's extremely easily searchable. I myself have had to look around and have been able to confirm that there is TM, the father, MM, which is Morgan, SM, their mother, and their brother, who also has the initials of MM. Let's go on to number 2. Morgan is also dead. Now, when you search Morgan's Twitter handle, which is Morgan_V_redacted, and then go to Instagram and search that exact same username, you will find a young lady who tragically passed away in October of 2020. Now, upon further research, this young lady has a father who has a completely different name to.
I will say there were so many different rumors going on about this account and everything else. There was also a screenshot that was left on I don't know which Reddit it was, and it was like a conversation with this Morgan person, and it like insinuated that she was paid off. There was a lot of different stuff going around about this Morgan person, which is why it's like, I don't know, like the Twitter account and everything else, but then her Twitter account says one thing, but then her Facebook and her Instagram say like her married name and everything else. It's just a lot. There's a lot of questionable things surrounding this whole situation. And Trisha was on Facebook during this time as well. And Facebook is an app where you go to reconnect with your high school buddies or, you know, alumni or whatever, you know? It's just odd.
To the original Morgan. And also they are much, much younger than Morgan. Now, the reason that Morgan doesn't have the same name across all of their platforms is because Morgan_V_redacted is their maiden name. They are now, as you would imagine, like most 30-something-year-old women, married, and they now have a married name. So when you search their married name on Instagram, ding, 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 you find Morgan. You find Morgan, you find the family, you find the father, you find her husband, the cosmetics business it is that they run, tagged photos. So that to me just shows that the girl who shares the same handle as Morgan is a completely different individual. So let's move on to number 3. Number 3 is that Morgan is a bot that conveniently came out to defend Trisha. Now, Morgan's account has been present as far as I can date back on social media from around 2012. They only deleted/deactivated their account after they allege people were contacting their father and contacting the police station, who she accidentally doxed. I don't think they really understood the magnitude of how crazy social media can really be. There are references to their Twitter handle speaking to people from Byron to other people who live in the Byron and Rockford area. This has been going on for several years. One in particular person is called Jeff Redacted. And when you go over to Morgan's husband's Instagram, in which Morgan is tagged in, one of Morgan's husband's mutual friends is this Jeff Redacted guy. However, you can't see Morgan's profile, just that Morgan was tagged by their partner, as even their maiden name handled Instagram has been taken down. So these are all real and legitimate people. Number 4 is that Morgan was hacked.
I see people like talking about like me bringing up the teacher's accomplishments, the accomplishments. And I've already explained this. The reason I brought up all of his accomplishments is because he was a very, very established person. And if anything like this would have happened, it would have been all over the media, everywhere, because it would have been shocking. And I said that in the video. It would have been a shocking story. And it seems like nobody has heard this rumor about him and Trisha at all. And there's nothing on his record at all. It was another piece to the story. That is why I brought up his accomplishments and everything else. It wasn't just based on that. I never said in the video, oh, Mr. R is this great guy and he's a war vet and he won a Bronze Star. Case dismissed. That's it. I never said that. Never, ever, ever said that. It was a part of the puzzle. It was something that needed to be brought up. So, which is why I said in the beginning of the video, and I said in so many streams and everything else, like, look at both videos, watch every single piece of information. I'm not basing my opinion off of one thing, because I'm not. Never, ever have I said that. I was basing it on this one thing. Never have I ever said that.
Person by the name of @1D_Inc. posted this comment to somebody who was showing proof that Morgan was in fact a real person, as a lot of people were trying to deny on social media. And basically this @1D_Inc. character basically stated that they were Morgan's friends and that they resided in Byron, and basically said not to post things doxing Morgan, as Morgan has had their account hacked. Basically delegitimizing that it's even Morgan saying these things from their own account. Now, previous internet archives show that this @1 J1D_Inc. person originally listed their account's location being in Sacramento, California. However, only recently they changed their handle to living in Byron, Illinois. Now, it could be possible that this individual may have lived in Sacramento and has since moved back to Byron, but considering most of their interactions from that account have been with anti-Trisha Paytas groups and individuals of no...
I've never even heard about this room. I don't know why there's so much detail going into this at all. There was a lot of rumors going around about Morgan, but I've never once said that, yeah, Morgan died or anything like that. A lot of people were telling me that she died because of another Instagram account. I don't know why this is being focused on so much. Yeah, the account looked legitimate, but there's a lot of questionable things surrounding it. You know what I mean?
Specific location, it does make me question the legitimacy of why they changed their location. Number 5 was that Morgan had changed their story multiple times. Now, when I tell you that I have searched high and low all across social media to find out where Morgan had changed their story or said something that delegitimized their story, nobody on the internet can point me in the right direction of where these tweets were located. I'm able to find very...
She changed it from 7th grade to 6th grade. She changed it from her father was a police chief in 2000 to he wasn't a police chief in 2000. She went from saying it was all true to where she told me she never heard anything about the teacher and Trisha. Like I said, you guys can take with that with a grain of salt because I'm not going to show the DMs. And she also, there was one other thing that she did. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. I had stuff posted on my Twitter about it. Oh, she went from saying it was years later to 2 years as well. The timelines kept changing. The information she was putting out, that it kept changing as well. And she didn't spell his name right either, which I thought was odd because his name is not a hard name to spell or remember. I mean, most of my teachers, I remember how to spell their names, especially if it was a simple name. I don't know. There was just a lot of questionable stuff surrounding it. I'm not going to dismiss the whole thing, but it still doesn't prove that this teacher did anything to Trisha. He might have been fired for something, but there's no proof of it either.
Various formats of the original tweets it was that they posted in regards to Mr. Riney rubbing their shoulders and being inappropriate, etc., across an Android device as well as an iPhone device as well as on desktop. There are various different formatted screenshots in regards to those tweets, but anything of this person delegitimizing what it is that they've had to say about their experience with Mr. Riney in Byron Middle School and any red flags that people have seen, nobody can point me in the right direction. So if you do have those screenshots, because I'm not about to rule it out as not existing at all. If you do have those screenshots, please feel free to email me on this because I don't have them and I have searched high and low across the whole internet to find them. And this is the most widespread rumor about this Morgan character that delegitimizes their story. Because from what I saw, I did not see Morgan change their story. In fact, they expanded on their story.
And that's just a little piece of her spelling his name wrong. Maybe she did spell his name wrong as a simple mistake. I get that. I'm just saying these are all the questionable things that just popped into my head about it. And I just thought I'd throw it out there that she spelled his name wrong multiple times.
Even went as far as to dox their family members to prove their legitimacy. So that, alongside me being able to locate their friends, her business, her husband, their family, their pets, as well as their married name Instagram, I can wholeheartedly conclude that Morgan Redacted is exactly who they say they are. And what we have actually just witnessed and watched in real time is people discredit their claim and their experiences.
And Morgan, okay, so if we're going off what Morgan is saying, she confirmed it was a game of Heads Up 7-Up. What I don't understand is how this teacher could possibly get handsy with anyone during Heads Up 7-Up, because Heads Up 7-Up is a game where there are 7 students walking around the classroom putting other students' thumbs down. So that is a part of the story that I do not understand at all. How could this teacher do anything that anybody do this stuff with these people? I just don't understand how it's possible when there's 7 students with their heads up. I don't understand that. I just don't understand how it's possible. And he didn't get reported and nobody said anything and nobody believed Trisha. Like it just that doesn't add up. It's just a part of the story that doesn't add up.
Based on the proximity of those allegations to Trisha Paytas. Once again, bearing in mind that this person said that Mr. Riney was handy with them, as well as a few other girls, as well as the yearbook photo that Mysterious used also contained this Morgan person, as well as the friend from the group chat of Rachel Redacted, who remembers the allegations against Mr. Riney.
No. That Rachel person didn't say, "Oh, I remember the allegations against him." Nobody confirmed that they remember Trisha doing that. The Morgan person just said, "Yeah, it's true," but then I don't know. It's just getting confusing.
Now, there was another receipt that was floating around on social media of a Facebook group where people were discussing Mr. Riney.
Okay, so like this stuff, she doesn't even read. Hang on, let me rewind it because I missed it. Okay. So like this one, let me see if she reads it real fast.
Of a Facebook group where people were discussing Mr. Riney. And members of this group also validated Morgan's claims that Mr. Riney was found with adult content on his computer on school grounds. I was able.
Okay, so she doesn't read it. Okay. Let me read it. This is why I always read stuff on the screen, because it's just so, when you just plop stuff up on the screen, people usually don't read it.
The allegations against Mr. Riney. Now, there was another receipt that was floating around on social media of a...
Okay, so this receipt says, "There are pretty serious allegations made by a famous internet person, which I'm finding hard to believe considering he was employed in 2 other schools after Byron." And then somebody responds with, "I remember him 6th grade. If I remember correctly, there were allegations that he was looking at adult content." And then in parentheses, they said maybe worse, which explains why maybe Trisha thought it was CP. That's how rumors happen in schools or high schools, middle schools, or whatever. The story just keeps getting bigger and more like crazy. And then he went on to say, on school computers. The other side of that I heard, it was a setup. He was set up by parents that didn't like him for one reason or another, with a link to questionable content in an email. Last time I heard anything about this was probably almost 15 years ago. It's been a long time. So this person right here is claiming that they heard 3 different stories to this teacher. He was either looking at P on the computers, or maybe worse, which is the second thing, or third, he was set up by a parent. So there's so many conflicting rumors about this story, which is why it's questionable to me.
Facebook group where people were discussing Mr. Riney. And members of this group also validated Morgan's claims that Mr. Riney was found with adult content on his computer on school grounds. I was able to reach out to the member of this group, and they were able to show me screenshots as well as screen recordings about what was discussed, as well as proof of the group's legitimacy, and the post that existed talking about Trisha's allegations. The post, however, was taken down by moderators for public shaming, but this is a small, extremely small, Byron-based Facebook group with over 4,000, close to 5,000 members. Now, one member of the group, their name is William, is a public figure, and they host their own radio show, and they even have websites detailing where you can find them across platforms like Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, etc., etc. And I debated on whether it was okay to speak about this person and to out them as a member of this group, as this person has information about themselves on public record and would be considered a public figure. However, I decided against leaving any further information besides his first name of William.
But he heard 3 different sides to the story. So he can't even remember it correctly.
Morgan had left the internet entirely based upon the negative attention it was that they were receiving, and I didn't want to really be the catalyst of something else like that happening.
Yeah, that's what I don't understand. Like Azara, I think you said nobody said anything about Trisha's story. Yeah, nobody's backing up Trisha's story at all. Nobody's like remembering that this happened to Trisha either. All they're remembering is he may or may not got fired for looking at pee at school, and it may or may not have been an accident.
To another person. Anyway, so beyond the comments that were left on this post in this very small Byron-based Facebook group, there are 3 members of this group that was infiltrated. So here are what 3 members of the group that was infiltrated and what they said about Mr. Riney. It's clear to me that something did happen in regards to adult content, even if the handsy nature of Mr. Riney could not be corroborated further than Morgan. This is what members of the group have to say.
And that's the other thing. There was a screenshot, and I don't even know if it was real or not, but somebody just said, sorry, Morgan, on a Reddit thing. And the person even said, like, in that message thread that I had no idea any of that happened. So it's just odd to me. And these she did not read, which I don't understand why you wouldn't read these, because I don't know. But these say, if you guys want me to read them out loud, because I think these are important as well. As a former student over 27 years ago now of Mr. R, I find the allegations appalling. Mr. R was always the professional, steadfast teacher who not only taught us what was in books, but to think for oneself and to be heard, to have an opinion and a voice and be positive and be a positive contribution to whatever you engage in. He was loud, he was direct, and he always told it like it was. But he gave us as much respect as he demanded of his students. He taught us what it meant to have pride in others and ourselves. He was an awesome teacher and one I will never forget. And then the other one... Wait. Yeah. Okay. Here's the other one. Hi, I was a student of Mr. R in 6th grade. Like it really matters, because she blasted his name throughout this video. I was trying to contain it to my one video, but my dad was also decent friends with him, as he also taught at Byron and coached his sons. From what I recall, my dad, Mr. R, opened an email from either a coworker or a friend that had adult content. A student saw it and reported it, and he lost his job. He did go on to teach and coach at other districts after that. He was never inappropriate, ever. He also helped with women's basketball. And then this person also said, Trisha Paiges was a year younger than me in school. And from what I recall, she was mostly homeschooled during her 6th grade year. So, that's all interesting information too. And it's just another rumor story. It's like nobody really knows what happened with this teacher, because it's all rumors. So
as you can see, it's kind of a bit of a mixed bag from the group, but I thought I'd include it just to show you guys fairness in my research. But one thing is for sure, some people remember this happening.
Hi, Mike. How are you? Mike reacted to this video the other day. And thank you, Mike, for all your support. And hey, everybody else watching, I'm sorry I haven't been reading comments or anything. There's like 3,700 people in here. Wow. Wow. We're going to get through this video. I'm going to read some comments before I jump off here and everything.
Okay, so this is where things get super duper interesting, because in Mysterious's video, they claimed that Byron was a small town with a small population and a low crime rate, and that Trisha's allegations of a teacher being inappropriate with them maybe could have happened once, but the chances of it happening 3 times is less than likely, as Trisha is alleging.
So statistically, I can see something like this happening one time to someone in a town like Byron, but 3 separate times by 3 different teachers to the same victim, it just seems impossible to me.
I wanted to know exactly the same thing as Mysterious. Why wasn't Mr. Riney's indiscretion, if true, why hasn't that stopped them from teaching? As Mr. Riney went on to teach at a plethora of different schools, as he discussed in his self-published book that I read called A Guy Named Charlie, My Refusal to Be Average.
I'm going to have to skip over a part of this video because what makes me so aggravated, and I think I'm going to have to skip over this part because she literally says his wife's name, and his wife's name has not been public at all. And it's just so frustrating that she's saying his name throughout this entire video and then says his wife's first name. And that's, I mean, you put 2 and 2 together. It's just frustrating that that was not redacted. I think I'm going to have to skip over this because I don't want to say her name on my channel. Basically, what Paige says is that she read his book and there's no mention of Byron Middle School in his book. His book, I bought his book. I haven't read the entire thing, but I've read a lot of it. And his book is not that big. It's a very, very small book, and it does skip over a lot of time periods. So just because he didn't mention Byron Middle School for the 2 years that he taught at it, I don't really understand, because the book does skip around and it's very small. Considering how much of a life he had, the book should have been a lot thicker. So he skipped over a lot of stuff in his life is what I'm assuming in this book. And that's what I thought when I read what I read of it, because it's not a very long book at all. I'll look it up on my phone and I'll let you guys know how many pages it actually is. But yeah, I'm going to have to skip over this part because I do not want to dox his wife's name at all. But that's basically what she says about the book. And she thought because his wife, I think, helped out with the book, she was speculating that that's probably why he didn't mention Byron Middle School in the book. So, I mean, take with that what you will. I don't really believe that, but you know.
AKA students from Seoul. I will leave both of the articles it is that I found down below. However,
okay, this is where she talks about Chicago.
But these are the most interesting excerpts that kind of explain the broken system in Illinois up until 2019 when this legislation came into place.
Okay, so basically what happened was the Chicago Tribune launched an investigation into the misconduct, mainly misconduct, that was happening behind closed doors in the state of Illinois, most specifically Chicago.
Okay, one thing I want to say about this. Chicago is a completely different city than Byron. If Trisha would have grown up in a place like Chicago, I would have had a completely different outlook on the stories that she has told. Chicago is a city with millions of people in it. I don't know what the population is, but it's a very, very big city. It's a very high crime rate. It's an F. I could probably look up the crime rates for you guys. They're night and day from each other. Byron has like 4,000 people in it. Chicago is so different from a city like Byron. They're apples and oranges. Now, if she would have pulled up a small town like Byron and compared them to each other, I could understand where she's coming from in this section. But Chicago is just so different from Byron. They're just like, they're apples and oranges to each other. I mean, I don't know.
They found over 500 cases that weren't being dealt with properly or adequately. There is now a new legislation that came into place in 2019, which they hope will protect students from being abused by their teachers. I do have to preface this by saying that the investigation was conducted in Chicago, and over 520 students in Chicago alone had reported abuse cases. However, the effects of this investigation affects all of Illinois, as Illinois implemented this legislation statewide. The article reads as follows.
So the book from Mr. R, it's 194 pages. So, and that's his life story. And a lot of the, let me look here. Actually, the book actually stops because there's a lot of pictures at the end of the book. So the book actually stops at 146 pages, not including like the title and stuff like that pages. But then there's like 20 pages of photos. So that's a very small book from like a life story of somebody that's been through war and health struggles and everything else. So I'm sure he skipped over a lot in that book. But yeah.
And while the legislation does not directly increase public access to the disciplinary records of school employees in cases, it does offer more leeway to share information about workers with other school districts. Many states require superintendents to disclose an educator's past misconduct to prospective employers, regardless of when it happened. Those laws are commonly referred to as pass the trash measures because they are meant to prevent problem educators from slipping quietly into the next district after meeting trouble with the last one. Illinois law currently prohibits school districts from disclosing employee records after 4 years have passed, including ones that show for students. The pending bill changes the law to specify that the 4-year look-back window doesn't apply to districts sharing information about employee misconduct to potential employers. So when Mysterious talks about statistically the chances of something like this happening more than once is unlikely, I would like to make a counter-argument that statistically, Trisha being in Illinois through this period where there was no protection on the 4-year look-back window was actually at a very huge disadvantage to everybody else in the US. So basically, at one point before 2019, which coincidentally happens to be the year of death for Mr. Riney, there was no standards statewide in Illinois and its districts for them to share information between each other of misconduct between teachers and students if 4 years have passed. That includes misconduct. In Mr. Riney's book, between the years of 1996 to 2004, that portion of his life was not discussed at all. And as I prefaced earlier on, his book is his life story. He jumps in his story from being at the Immaculate Conception.
But he moved schools during that time. Like he was teaching at Byron and then he moved to another school. It would have been on his record during that time. He wouldn't have got another job. I don't understand. I guess I'm confused. Because how did he get another job if any of this was on his record and it couldn't have been shown? I just don't understand.
High school in Cherokee, Iowa, to then speaking about his experience at Guilford High School in Rockford, Illinois in 2006. His time teaching at Byron Middle School was not documented in his book at all, almost as if it doesn't exist.
He taught there for 2 years. I don't really understand the point of that because it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, if nothing happened during that time period, why talk about it?
Maybe he felt like there was
like Byron Middle School was such a short, like it was the shortest time of his life, like the shortest time. Because every other school he taught at, there's like a big bulk of record of it. And he taught at the high school, like the Byron High School before he went to the middle school.
Was nothing eventful that happened in that time period. But then I remembered that at the beginning of the video in his acknowledgement,
I'm skipping ahead. Man, damn it. I thought I skipped ahead of it. Ugh. It just aggravates me that her name was put in this video.
But it's definitely food for thought. Okay, so further to that, I wanted to see if there was any other documented instances of misconduct within Byron Middle School. Now, I may not have found anything to do with Byron Middle School themselves. However, I was able to find something in relation to Byron High School. Now, as you can see from the screenshot, the proximity of Byron...
Oh my God. Are we doxing everybody? Why the fuck would you put a map? Mapping it directly to the schools. Come on, man. The lawsuit about the high school, I mentioned this in my video, and I didn't go into details about it because, yes, there was an essay in there, but it was an essay from another student. And the coach and the administration got slapped with a lawsuit for allowing bullying and hazing. But the essay that she talks about on this is from another student. Another student did it while somebody was asleep on the bus. and I was focused on teachers. And which is why I mentioned it in the video that the only thing I could find was a lawsuit that was filed against the high school in 2019. And that's 19 years after Trisha was in middle school there. And it was against the high school, not the middle school, which would back up bullying with the schools that Trisha was having a hard time with bullying and stuff like that, if that was going on for a really long time. But the essay that she talks about is from another student doing it to another student, which is listed in the article.
Sean Considine, the assistant coach and former Byron football star, James Kahn, the school's athletic director, as well as the school's principal, Jay Mullins, and the assistant principal, Michael Mansden, allegedly failed to fulfill their obligations to protect the student in a bullying and hazing case that actually ended with happening on their watch. Now, the boy had refused to take part a year previously in something that was widely publicized for the Byron High School, which was the Naked Oreo Run. Now, basically, the Naked Oreo Run was where all of these football players had to...
Yeah, and it says right here, it's the 1-year anniversary of the assault against plaintiff, who's identified as John Doe, on the bus ride home from the Tigers' 2018 state title loss in Champaign. Fellow former football player Richard Messling, who was also named in the lawsuit, pleaded guilty in June to a misdemeanor of battery stemming from the incident. So this person was caught and they got arrested. I mean, if anything, it just backs up, like, you're going to get caught if you're doing this sort of stuff and it's going on for an extended period of time. If this was like such an issue, like in the middle school, like Trisha made it out to be, I don't understand how nobody was ever caught, because it seems like all these teachers and staff were so reckless, like so reckless. That's something I just don't understand. If you're openly admitting to administrative staff that you did something to a student and you're that reckless, how in the hell did you never get caught? And how in the hell did nobody hear this rumor? Those are the questions that I have that I don't understand about this at all. And let's not forget all the other stories. Trisha also claimed that she was 6 years old and went in front of a judge for another teacher. So this would have been a story. Yeah, Trisha wouldn't have been in the actual story. She would have been, redacted because she was a minor, but there would have been a story online somewhere about it. And there's just nothing. There's just absolutely nothing. That's just what I don't understand about the situation. There's just nothing online about any of this. And it sounds like this town is full of teachers that are assaulting people, but there's no trace of it anywhere. That's what I don't understand at all.
Run across the school football ground naked with an Oreo wedged in between their butt cheeks, and anybody who dropped the Oreo had to eat the Oreo. But his refusal to take part in that situation a year previously then resulted in bullying and hazing that was administered by the students on the year anniversary of this whole entire situation happening. So what happened was, on the school...
Why, what's happening? Hold on. I see like flagging and shit. Please do not send hate or encourage mass flagging of other creators. No, we don't. No hate towards anybody, you guys. Do not. Please. Please. Do not send hate to anybody.
School coach coming back from it.
Or flag anybody. Please.
Another game, fellow student who was over the age of 18, so I can't say his name, Richard Messling, placed his on the face of the student who they are now naming as John Doe. Now, it's alleged that Messling had actually led the Oreo run, but Messling did in fact hand himself over to the police and pled guilty to battery charges. This is what the lawyer that helped file the case against the district has to say.
There is a pattern and practice of indifference that has been evident throughout my client's tenure at Byron High School, and that the bullying that has gone on has been a part of this code of silence for the sake of the football program, said Stephanie White, senior trial attorney for the Sandman, Levy and Petrich law firm of Chicago. The fact that the district would not take measures to follow their anti-bullying, anti-violence protocol in responding to incidents, and in fact target the student and make him a target when he does voice his concerns, has revealed itself since he started at Byron High School. Every time he spoke out, he was reprimanded or became the target of further incidents of being picked on, White said.
So to me, there seems to be a culture still ongoing, at least until 2019, with the schools and the school's officials, as well as the school district, not protecting the students, even in the face of bullying, hazing, and as the young boy whose father complained alleges, every single time that they would make a complaint about this situation, they ended up getting in trouble. Does that sound familiar?
The teacher said I was like asking for it. So it was like looked over.
Now,
I just don't see how there's no trace of it at all. There's no trace of any of this before that lawsuit. And it wasn't even, the assault was a student assaulting another student. And they were caught. These people were caught. So there's a trail of it. And I get, like, I understand you guys, like, I get some things don't get reported. I understand that. And I understand people get away with like horrible shit all the time. I get that. I understand that. But it's like, as much as this seems to have been happening, according to Trisha, this town knows nothing about it. And I don't understand how that's possible. And given the stories that have been told, I don't understand how nobody remembers any of this happening to Trisha. Or, I mean, there's just no trace of anything but besides this lawsuit against the high school. And this was more directed at hazing and bullying. And there was an assault from another student, a student assaulting another student. So I don't know. And the high school is different from the middle school. I get they probably have the same kind of staff and everything else, but I don't know. That's why I didn't really go into detail about the lawsuit. I gave it to you guys. I told you there's a lawsuit that's filed against the high school for hazing, and I moved on from it because it didn't involve, there was no essay involving a teacher doing it. And then I said what the lawsuit basically was. So I don't know.
Whilst I understand that people know Trisha Paytas as a pathological, habitual liar, I get that sometimes it's hard to defend somebody who has done so much wrong. But I think when we're talking about allegations, to keep an open mind. I've seen across social media that people are stating, well, Trisha Paytas lied about the fact that the teacher had CP on his computer. Why should we believe that he's her abuser? And whilst I completely understand that perspective of the boy who cries wolf, I want to pose to you guys another question. If Mysterious was wrong about their initial copyright claim with Trisha Paytas and Superbam, why should we believe their story? Or is it sometimes?
Are you serious? You're basing that off of a copyright claim. And I never, ever, 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 I never, ever, ever said as a fact that Trisha did this, this, and this, and this. I gave my opinion on whether or not I thought it was automatic or if it was random or if it was cherry picked. And it was my opinion. I made it crystal clear. It was my opinion. I showed you guys the clips, and that was that. It was a 5-minute segment, if that, in the video. It was like 5 to 10% of the video. And I read you guys what is involved with a manual claim. You have to look up the timestamps. You have to get those timestamps. You have to put them into the YouTube system. I didn't get the copyright claim until a week later after the video was uploaded. So basing it off of, if Mysterious was wrong about the copyright claim, how can they not be, how can they, how can we trust her on this and everything else? I provided you guys with receipts, evidence, as much as I could on the entire situation. I made an entire first episode to show all the contradictions about Trisha's childhood during the frenemies era, and so that you guys understand how her life went and everything else before I brought up this other stuff, because I felt like that was such an important piece to the story. It's not one thing. It's everything as a whole. There's so much that doesn't add up about the situation at all. And let's not forget that the girl that came out against Moses, Trisha completely dismissed her like immediately.
That people just get things wrong. And the intent isn't always to mislead, but just simply make it right once you know, which is essentially all Trisha Paytas has to do. Let it.
And if she got the art, okay, so I posed this question. If you're going to speculate like that, I posed this question. What if she got the teacher wrong? She got a pretty serious crime wrong and blasted it to millions of people. What if this teacher isn't even the teacher? I mean, Trisha talks about blackouts and delusions all the time and everything else and not knowing what reality is. I mean, and there's so many different stories and everything else. I don't understand. I don't understand this video. I really don't.
It be known publicly and not passively that this teacher was not found with CP on their computer, because there is absolutely no evidence of such. I can't help but feel that the alleged systemic silencing that Trisha Paytas has experienced from their family straight through to members of society in positions of power is why we have the toxic individual it is that we have today, who lies all the time because who cares? No one's going to believe them anyway. And honestly, that's what look for.
But how would a 6th grade teacher knows that she's a pathological liar? Especially because Mr. R was a brand new teacher in that middle school and he taught the high school before that point. So how would that teacher even know that anyways? She brought up that point like she's a pathological liar, so nobody's going to believe her anyways. But it's just... Trisha has even admitted on a podcast that this teacher never did anything to her in 2020. And the other thing about it is that I don't understand is that, you know, she said she liked it, she enjoyed it, whatever. But then there's another side of it to where she thought he was creepy and she reported it. If you liked it and enjoyed it or whatever, why would you report it? There's so much of it that just doesn't make sense to me. So many angles of it. And she specifically says there's a report with the school and there's no report with the school. She said that she talked to the family, and I don't think she ever talked to the family. I don't think that family wants anything to do with her at this point. There's just so much of it that doesn't make any sense.
No, to look for the most vulnerable people in society. They say that a good doesn't just groom its victim. It grooms the people around the victim. And if what Trisha Paytas is alleging about Mr. Riney is true, then I believe that waking up to thousands of people asking for justice for somebody that you named as your abuser could probably make you spiral, could probably break you. Another argument that people bring up is that, you know, Mr. Riney is dead. Trisha Paytas lied on a dead man. And whilst I believe that most definitely what Trisha Paytas said was untrue, I don't believe it was an active lie. I remember when the late Jimmy Savile was found out to have abused so many people for 30 plus years. And
what does this guy have anything to do with this? One thing I want to tell you guys, like, I believe Trisha's trauma was happening in her own home, and the video that came out about Lena, where her ex-husband, which was like, if you watched my first video, it was stepdad number, I think he was stepdad number 3. It was her 4th husband, though. Fell into one of her daughter's beds or whatever. And that guy was in the picture when, and Trisha even said it in DMs to Ethan that she leaked online herself, said that it was 20 years ago, which would have put her at about 12 years old. And I think that's a true story. I don't know why Lena would have mentioned it if it wasn't true. And she specifically said that she couldn't have that in her house. She wanted her daughters to be pure. She didn't want them taken away from her or anything else. What if she's twisting this story onto this teacher because of her mom's ex-husband? That's another part of it that I've been thinking about a lot. And it lines up with the timeline, and it makes sense why she's so focused on this particular story and why she's mentioned it more than anything else. And I just think Trisha's real trauma, it's really, 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 really hard for her to talk about, which is why she never talks about it. There's just so much of it that there's pieces that make sense with the childhood that she told everyone for years and years and years. And every angle I look about these teachers, nothing lines up with each other. Nothing does. There's always a contradiction. There's always something with it. There's even more clips that I didn't even know existed about this particular story that are so far different from any of the stories that she has told about this teacher. I don't know. I didn't say Mr. R was a good guy. Case closed. I never said that. I never said that. I get bad people do shit. I understand bad people do shit. And when I made the videos, I focused on Trisha, not everything else outside of it. I focused on the stuff that I found in both videos, and I drew my conclusions based off of all the evidence that I put in both videos.
The British public over here, we were in awe, in shock. Why didn't we notice? Why didn't we see the signs? This is the same.
But he got caught. Right? He got caught. I don't know who this is, but he got caught, which is why we're talking about it.
Guy who received an NBE from the Queen and was knighted by the Queen of England. He didn't just groom the victim. He groomed the whole country. Now, I'm not saying that Mr. Rainey is a groomer in any way, but just the added perspective of, well, what if? Now, I am aware that there have been some contradictory statements that have...
Anybody saying anything about my daughter needs to be kicked out of here immediately. I've been getting threats to my kid and everything else. My daughter's off limits. You have no right to bring my daughter into anything. Hang on. This is one reason why I bowed out of this. Bringing up my kid is low. It's really, really low. Hang on. I got to find out who just said that and get rid of him. Hang on, you guys. I'm sorry. I got to find it. I can't find who just said that. Damn it. Hold on. Sorry, guys. Hang on. Like the chat just like moved really fast and I'm trying to find it and now I can't fucking find it. And who said it? Like threatening to call like child protective services and shit. Here it is. Let me find it in my thing. 1054. Thank you, Priya. Thanks, Priya. talking about reporting me for child abuse or some shit. Bringing up my kid's really low. Like, leave my kid out of it. What's wrong with you? All right. Sorry, guys. When I see stuff about my kid, I'm sorry, I go into full on protection mode. Like, my kid is everything to me. My kid has the world and she is not lacking anything. And for people to spread around information like that is absolutely disgusting. I'm a good mom and I've raised my daughter on my own, and she needs to be left out of it.
Have been made by Trisha Paytas, stating that they have never been inappropriate with any of their teachers, that none of them harmed them or was with them in any way. But there are so many countless individuals out there at this current moment in time that protect their abusers. In fact, to support my thought process, I'd like to read out a few excerpts from an article.
And I understand that. Like, a lot of people will say, oh, nothing happened with this person or this person, and they'll protect their abusers or whatever. Like, Trisha's never protected this person either. And I understand people will say nothing illegal happened with my teachers, nothing illegal happened with this person. That is just another piece to the puzzle of why it doesn't make sense. Because for years and years and years and years and years, she said nothing illegal happened with their teachers. She posted a video to teach her young audience on how to seduce teachers. I don't understand what was going on in her brain to think that that was okay. There's so many things about this that doesn't make any sense. And her openly saying nothing illegal happened with my teachers multiple times is just another piece to the puzzle on why it doesn't connect with each other. And I understand that different victims will handle things differently. I understand all of that. But it's like every angle about this Trisha story, it doesn't connect with each other.
By the Time's Up Foundation, titled "Why Victims of SA Often Stay in Contact with Their Abusers and Other Key Facts of Trauma." Fact: forever.
But she didn't stay in contact with this person. She has never once said that she has stayed in contact with this person.
For a variety of reasons, victims may remain friendly with their abusers. Most victims know their abuser, so it's not uncommon for survivors of SV at the hands of.
She has always said that he was creepy. I think in that first TikTok, she said he was creepy.
Of a professional acquaintance or an intimate partner to maintain contact with their abuser. Doing so does not mean that the victim consented in any.
Like, this doesn't have anything to do with anything that Trisha said, because Trisha's never said that she's kept in contact with this teacher.
Way to the perpetrator's abusive behavior. In addition, because of the complex ways in which SA and related coercion and abuse exploit power and control, and thus undermines the victim's self-confidence and self-esteem, many victims struggle to break off contact. Victims sometimes cope by focusing on their perpetrator's loving side and shutting out the abuse, maintaining contact to elicit such affirmative behavior from the abuser. Often, victims may blame themselves for the encounter and convince themselves, or might be convinced by the abuser, that the assault was not the way that they thought it was. Fact: it often takes time for survivors to report to anyone, let alone the authorities. There are many reasons why.
But she said she reported it when it happened. I don't understand this. I mean, I understand what she's trying to do. I understand that she's trying to convey that everybody handles trauma differently. I understand that, but she didn't, according to her story, she didn't wait to report it. And she didn't keep in contact with this guy. There's never been anything that Trisha has said where she said that she kept in contact with this person.
Survivors do not disclose traumatic events until long after they occur. Failure to disclose SA immediately does not mean that it never happened. 3 out of 4 SA go unreported to the police. Our word is often the result of coercion and not physical force, and the survivors often need more time to reconcile what happened to them before coming forward, if they choose to do so at all.
I agree. There's not enough people that report it. Definitely. But Trisha said that she reported it. There's like a million different ways that she claims that she reported it. Which is another thing which is another part of the story that doesn't make any sense.
In addition, shame and stigma and fear of not being believed and or uncertainty about the consequences of engaging in a complicated judicial system tend to prevent SA survivors from reporting to the authorities. Fact. Traumatic memories are vivid for victims, whilst banal details are often forgotten. Traumatic events are processed differently than peripheral information about traumatic events. With extreme emotional arousal at the time of the traumatic event, people experiencing trauma often become narrowly focused on what is happening and therefore are more likely to remember it. In contrast, they often have a less clear and complete memories about other aspects of the traumatic event, such as the day of the week, the clothes they were wearing, etc., etc. Likewise, traumatic memories often come to mind as an involuntary and intrusive thoughts or ruminations replayed and rehearsed over an entire lifetime. Extraneous details and information, on the other hand, do not reappear as intrusive thoughts and ruminations, so they become easily forgotten, especially as time passes. We have seen so many.
I understand that. I mean, yeah, probably. I get that. Like, people forget certain things about the trauma. But like in my video, I put together a timeline for you guys where they were doing that Dr. Drew episode. And Trisha specifically said in that episode, like she said she didn't talk about childhood trauma. And then 5 minutes later, she flipped it and said that she talked about childhood trauma in therapy. And it was a lot of trauma that her parents didn't know about. And that's one thing that's so confusing to me, is how her parents knew nothing about all this stuff going on. How would you not know that stuff was going on at the school? Especially if you reported it with the principal and the principal said, "Oh, it's not the teacher's fault. Don't wear water bras," or whatever. Like, there was one version of the story where the principal says she couldn't wear water bras. There was another version of the story where the principal said she couldn't show her arms or legs. I mean, there were so many different angles to the story, but it always sounded like she reported it. So how did her mom not know any about this? If she could go to the principal and report it, why wouldn't her mom also know about this? And her mom worked at the school. Her mom was like a lunch person, and she like helped with the dance. And I think she was a bus driver too. It's just something I don't understand. I don't understand how all of these people don't know what was going on. If this is in fact how it all went down, how does nobody know anything about this? But that's why I've like stressed to everyone so much. And I know you can't watch both episodes because they're not up on my channel. That's why I said at the beginning of each video, please watch the whole video. I'm not asking you to watch the whole video because I want all that ad revenue or anything like that. I'm wanting you to watch the whole video because I want you to absorb all the information that I put into that video, because every single piece of information goes with what I'm trying to convey to you guys. That's why it was so important.
Instances that are detailed in this article that Trisha Paytas has displayed. Maintaining the contact with the abuser so they feel as if they consented. One survivor coming up first so they feel like it's appropriate.
But she didn't stay in contact with him. I mean, she talked about other teachers throughout the years, but she never mentioned this teacher. Hardly ever.
For them to speak up. Disassociation, less clear and complete memories, misremembering parts of the assault, not disclosing the traumatic event years after it happened, and focusing on the perpetrator's loving side. And I, for one, don't want to go out into this world and say that I did not listen. Whether the allegations against Mr. Riney are true or not, we as a community are now speaking on something that has absolutely nothing to do with us, and something that has.
But Trisha made it to do with us. That's the problem. She made it our business. She blasted it. That's the problem. If she never would have said his name, I would have never have made a video. I would have never have made a video about it. I didn't question her when she first started talking about all this. I believed her until I saw people looking it up and dropping the comments. I had no desire to look up an arrest of a teacher until I saw people talking about it. Every time that she talked about it, I didn't question it until I looked into this situation and realized how fucked up it was.
Never happened to us. The specifics of Trisha Paytas' situation, nor can we prove that it happened to Trisha or that it didn't happen to Trisha. And the only people or person who will is Trisha Paytas, and unfortunately, the late Mr. Riney.
Yeah, and that's what sucks about the situation. The guy can't even defend himself, man. He can't even defend himself. He's not even a public figure. And what about all the other stories that doesn't make sense either? There's just so much about it, man. There's just so much.
Anyway, that is about it from me and this little video essay to do with the whole Trisha Paytas saga. And I hope that you guys will at least try and understand my point of view. And if anything, regardless of what your thoughts are of Trisha Paytas, I hope that this video will at least make people a little bit more empathetic to the complicated world of SA. With that being said, I hope you...
I don't want to question SA victims. I don't want to question victims in general, but I do feel like if people are making a mockery and lying and that sort of thing, it needs to be called out because it's very, very disrespectful to actual victims that have gone through very traumatic things. And, I get people are mad about me talking about it. I get people are mad I made this part of the series and everything else. But, when I looked into it, it just didn't make sense at all. And what I don't understand about Paige is, I seen a tweet from her the other day on a channel where she was mocking a murder victim, Gabby Patino. Now, I don't know the full thing of that story, but it is speculated that this YouTuber, I think she posted on Instagram and YouTube, her name's Gabby, her fiance is the one that murdered her. And it speculated that it was like a domestic abuse type situation. So what I don't understand is why she would post something like that. But she's going so hardcore for Trisha when I provided all this evidence. Like, I don't understand. I don't understand at all. Yes, she did do that. She had a picture of Gabby, the picture of Gabby where she's in the car when they, I think it was like the body cam when the police got involved like 3 weeks ago and Gabby was in the car crying. She posted that picture and above it, it wasn't even, I think she said it was, what are those things called? Memes? Are they memes? I think she said it was like a meme or something, but it was just the photograph of Gabby. And then above it, she said, "I just want to go to sleep." And that was the tweet. And I was just like, what? Yeah. And then she acted like she didn't know that the person had passed away when there's like a video on somebody's channel about it because they went through all the tweets and stuff like that. And she knew she passed away. She knew they found her body. So she knew about it after she posted that. So it's just really interesting to me that she would post something like that. I know I need more mods and all kinds of stuff. There's a lot I need to do with my channel. I know. So it's just like how you can post something like that, but then go so hard for Trisha Paytas. I just don't understand that. What's going on with somebody named Nikki? I don't know. I didn't see what was going on, so I don't know. I don't want anybody kicked out unless they're like out of control. I get there's a lot going on. Thank you so much, mods. I appreciate you guys like a great deal. I've been on here for over 2 hours, but I don't understand why she focused so much on me as well in that video and that copyright claim. I don't really understand that. Did Nikki Red get like maybe wrong Nikki? What was going on? I just seen something about my kid again too. God, there's so many people that like hate me in the chat. Hold on. Survivors, not victims. Hold on, I'm trying to. Nikki brought up your daughter again. Oh. It was Nikki Reed, not Nikki Red. She would never do that. Nikki Reed. Yeah, I seen the John Benet Ramsey video. Yeah, I don't understand some of the stuff that Trisha has done at all. Yeah, survivors, not victim. I get it. Yeah, survivors. Thank you guys for all the support. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. How are the copyright? The 3 on the original video got overturned. The claims, they're claims, not strikes, but the 3 on the original video got overturned. The privacy claim on the episode or the second part was obviously YouTube stood behind that and they took the video down. And then I got 5 on a private video, but I'm not going to post that video because I'm re-editing part 2 and I'm going to re-upload it. You earned my respect back. Now I just hope you're going to upload the second part. Yeah, I'm working on it to re-upload it. I'm putting more clips in that have been found after the fact. And I'm going to reword some things because, like I said at the beginning of the video, there were things that I said in the video because I was so focused on Trisha and only Trisha. And I should have worded things differently. And everything that I said in the video was not directed at anybody that has went through this stuff in general. It was more directed. It was directed at the story that this whole situation with Trisha and looking at all the evidence. And that's how I formed my opinions on so many different things in that video. because of everything that I put together in the 2 videos that I did. So, but yeah. Thank you, Mike. You're respectful and patient. I appreciate that. Thank you. Yes, I'm still going to do, I don't know what I'm going to do with the Moses stuff, because the stuff that's come out about Moses, I mean, he should never, Trisha should never laid his hands on him, period. But it's just, I'm probably going to lightly touch on Moses, but it's going to be more focused on Jason in that video. I don't know how I'm going to do the whole thing yet. I haven't started on episode 2 at all, because there's just been so much with this, and I'm having to re-edit part 2. So I'm an SA survivor, and I 100% support you. Lies about SA hurt all survivors and the people being lied about and their families. I know that's why you're doing this. Your heart is in the right place. Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And I'm sorry you had to go through that. And I really appreciate your support a great deal. Great, great deal. I would love to see your perspective. Agreed. Yeah, the live will stay up. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not trying to offend anyone. I mean, I usually try to say survivors. I don't know why I'm saying victims so much, but yeah. I'm not trying to offend anyone. I don't want to offend anyone. Like, I don't want anyone to, like, I don't want to minimize anybody's experience. And that's why, like, I should have focused on more outside of Trisha. I really should have. I was just so focused on everything that she had said. And if anybody has felt disrespected by anything that I have said in both of those videos, I'm genuinely sorry. I am so supportive to anybody that's gone through anything traumatic. I know what it's like. I've gone through domestic abuse pretty bad, and I know how much it, how much it triggers you, how much things, I get it. I get it to a certain degree. I'm not SA, but I get it to a certain degree. So you're adding a pathological lie. I honestly think that the sad reality of this is people lie. People will lie about this sort of thing, and it does happen. And people need to know that it's not okay to lie about, because it takes away from real people's stories. It does. And it's so important. I think it's important to call out this kind of shit. I really do. Because I feel like it's made a mockery of victims. I really do. And it's hurt a lot of people, what she has done. I'm a victim myself, and it's been very bothersome to know that she has lied. And, you know, the comments that I've seen around everywhere before I made this series and before I did everything, a lot of people that were calling out the stuff that Trisha was saying were survivors, and they took a lot of offense to it. And I don't know. I felt like I needed to do something with it, especially when I found out everything that they did. So, but yeah. But I'm going to get off here, you guys. I got to work tomorrow, and I'll do another live stream addressing like the other shit that people are putting online and everything else. But I appreciate all your guys' support. Great deal. I really, really do. I'm not going anywhere. I just got really overwhelmed, and, you know, like I said at the beginning, I just got really overwhelmed. The T channels were attacking me. I kept getting threats about my family, and just every little thing. I just felt like I wasn't doing it right, and it just got overwhelming. It got the best of me, and I just want to keep moving forward. And excuse me. I just want to keep moving forward, and I want to give you guys the content that you're here for. I appreciate every single one of my subscribers a great, great deal, and I don't want to let you guys down. So I'm just going to keep pushing through. A lot of people gave me pep talks, and even my daughter, you guys, like I told her what I did, and she was so mad at me. She knew my channel was growing and everything else, and she's like, "Why did you do that?" And she was mad at me. So she gave me a little pep talk too. So but yeah. So yeah, you guys, just all your support and everything else that's what brought me back. And I just need to focus on the positive and just block out all the hate. So but yeah. Thank you to all the mods. Thank you for everybody being here. I'm sorry I could not answer questions and go through the chat a lot, but I appreciate y'all so, so much. And I will keep this live up. And yeah, so I'll see you guys soon. And updates will be on the community tab. I love you guys a great deal. And I will talk to you soon. Bye.